Captain Jiwon Park stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the stars through the main window. The ship moved slowly through space near the Kepler 442 system. This was her third patrol this month, and nothing exciting ever happened out here. The outer rim was quiet and peaceful. "Captain, we're getting some strange readings," said Minho Kim from his station. He was the chief engineer and had been with Jiwon for 5 years. His fingers moved quickly over the control panel as he checked the numbers again. "What kind of readings?" Jiwon asked. She walked over to look at his screen. The green and blue lights showed normal space activity, but something was different. Energy signatures. Very big ones. "Coming from outside the system," Minho said. His voice was worried. "I've never seen anything like this before." Salmon Lee, the tactical officer, turned from her station. "Captain, I'm picking up movement. Multiple objects. They're huge." She paused and looked at her screen again. "Much bigger than our largest ships." Tai Hyung Choi, who handled communications, suddenly spoke up. "Captain, you need to see this." His face was pale as he stared at his equipment. "Something is coming out of hyperspace." Jiwon felt her heart start to beat faster. "Put it on the main screen." The front window changed to show what their sensors were seeing. At first there was nothing but empty space and distant stars. Then, like magic, massive shapes began to appear. Ship after ship dropped out of hyperspace, each one the size of a small city. "How many?" Jiwon asked quietly. 50, 60. "Still counting," Soman said. "Captain, these ships are unlike anything in our databases. The design is completely alien." The alien ships were sleek and dark, with smooth curves that seemed to flow like water. Strange lights pulsed along their hulls, and weapon ports lined their sides. Even from far away, Jiwon could see they were built for war. "Are they heading for the colonies?" she asked. "Yes, Captain." "They're moving toward Kepler Station and the mining outposts," Soman replied. Kepler Station was home to 3 million people, families, children, workers who had come to the outer rim to build a new life. The mining outpost had thousands more. All of them were defenseless against ships like these. "Send a message to Earth Command immediately," Jiwon ordered. "Tell them we have an alien fleet approaching human colonies. Request immediate military support." Taehyung's fingers flew over his controls. "Message sent, Captain. But it will take hours to reach Earth, and days for any ships to get here." "Captain," Soman said urgently, "the alien ships are sending a transmission. Put it through." The bridge speakers crackled with static. Then a cold, mechanical voice filled the air. The words were in broken human language, but the meaning was clear. "Attention, primitive species. This is Admiral Kyung-Soo Yoon of the Vorthan Empire. You will surrender immediately. Your absorption into the Empire is inevitable. Resistance will result in complete extinction of your species." Jiwon felt ice in her veins. "Can we respond?" "Yes, Captain, but open a channel." Jiwon stepped forward. "This is Captain Jiwon Park of the United Earth ship Defiant. These are human colonies under the protection of Earth. We demand you leave our space immediately." A harsh laugh came through the speakers. "Your demands mean nothing. Watch and learn what happens to those who oppose the Vorthan Empire." The transmission ended. On the main screen, the alien fleet began to move faster toward Kepler Station. Jiwon watched in horror as energy began to build around the weapons of the lead ship. "Captain, we have to do something," Minho said. "What can we do?" Soman asked. "One ship against 60? Our weapons can't even scratch their shields." Jiwon looked at her crew. These were good people who had trusted her to keep them safe. But how could she order them to die in a hopeless fight? "Captain," Taehyung said quietly, "I'm getting emergency signals from Kepler Station. They're asking for help." On the screen, beams of pure energy shot out from the alien ships. Kepler Station, with its spinning sections and docking bays, simply vanished. One moment it was there, home to millions of people. The next moment there was nothing but glowing debris. The bridge fell silent. Jiwon felt sick. 3 million people gone in seconds. "The mining outposts are next," Soman whispered. More energy beams lanced out. One by one the human settlements disappeared. Each flash of light meant thousands of deaths. Families torn apart. Dreams destroyed. Lives ended in an instant. "Captain," Minho said, "we can't just watch this happen." Jiwon knew he was right. The Defiant was just one small ship, but it was all these people had. She couldn't save the ones who were already dead, but maybe she could help the survivors. "Salmon, are there any civilian ships trying to escape?" "Yes, Captain. I count 12 transport ships fleeing the outer mining stations. Set course to intercept. We'll try to cover their escape. Captain, Taehyung said, that's suicide. We'll never survive against their weapons. Jiwon looked at each of her crew members. I won't order anyone to follow me. This is volunteer only, Minho stood up first. I'm with you, Captain, Soman nodded. Those are innocent people out there, Taehyung sighed. My family came to the outer rim to find a better life. Someone has to stand up for them. Then it's decided, Jiwon said. Take us in. The Defiant turned toward the alien fleet. It was like a tiny fish swimming toward a school of sharks. The alien ships were so massive that the Defiant looked like a toy beside them. Captain, Soman said, the lead alien ship is turning toward us. They're charging weapons. Shields up. All power to engines. The alien ship was a monster of dark metal and pulsing lights. Weapon ports opened along its hull like hungry mouths. Energy began to build, preparing to destroy the small human ship. Incoming transmission from the alien ship, Taehyung reported. Let's hear it. Admiral Kyung-soo's cold voice filled the bridge again. Foolish humans. Your sacrifice will be meaningless. Prepare to join your colonies in death. Jiwon was about to respond when something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to bend and twist between the Defiant and the alien ship. A shimmer appeared like heat waves rising from hot ground. What is that? Minho asked. The shimmer grew larger and larger until it covered a huge area of space. Then, with a flash of light, something materialized out of nothing. It was a ship, but unlike anything Jiwon had ever seen. It was massive, even larger than the alien vessels. Its hull was dark gray metal covered in strange markings and symbols. Old-style Earth writing ran along the side, but the letters were faded and hard to read. Taehyung, can you read those markings? He squinted at the screen. It's old Earth script, Captain. Very old, I think it says, U.S. Prometheus. And below that, Project Deep Sleep. The new ship positioned itself directly between the Defiant and the alien fleet. Its weapons powered up, and suddenly the odds had changed. The aliens found themselves facing something they had not expected. Where did it come from? Soman whispered. I don't know, Jiwon said. But right now I don't care. That ship just saved our lives. On the main screen, the mysterious vessel hung in space like a guardian angel. Its presence had stopped the alien attack cold. For the first time since the aliens arrived, Jiwon felt a spark of hope. Maybe humanity had a chance after all. Admiral Kyung-soo-yoon stared at the massive ship that had appeared from nowhere. In his 1,000 years of life, he had conquered hundreds of worlds for the Vorthan Empire. He had seen every type of ship and weapon that the galaxy had to offer. But this vessel was different. What is that thing? He demanded from his command throne on the bridge of his flagship. Unknown, Admiral, his tactical officer replied. The ship does not match any design in our databases. Its size is comparable to our dreadnoughts, but the technology readings are strange. Strange how? The energy signatures are very old, but also very advanced. It's like looking at ancient technology that was built far ahead of its time. Kyung-soo's red eyes narrowed. The Vorthan Empire had ruled the galaxy for centuries by being stronger and smarter than everyone else. No species had ever surprised them like this. Scan for weapons and shields, he ordered. Sir, the scans are being blocked. Whatever shielding that ship has, it's beyond our ability to penetrate. Deep inside the mysterious ship, ancient systems were coming to life. Lights flickered on in corridors that had been dark for centuries. Computer systems that had been sleeping began to wake up. In the central command center, a soft voice spoke into the darkness. Crew revival sequence initiated. Threat level maximum. All senior staff report to stations immediately. Tubes of cold mist opened with sharp hissing sounds. Inside each tube, a human figure began to stir. These people had been sleeping for hundreds of years, waiting for the day they would be needed again. Captain Hyunwoo Nam opened his eyes slowly. His body felt stiff and cold, but his mind was already working. He had been dreaming of Earth, of blue skies and green trees. Now he woke to find himself in the sterile white chamber where he had been sleeping. Arya, report, he said as he climbed out of the tube. The ship's artificial intelligence responded immediately. Captain Nam, you have been in cryogenic sleep for 307 years. We are currently in the Kepler 442 system. A large alien fleet is attacking human colonies. I have positioned us to intervene. Hyunwoo felt his heart sink. 300 years. When they had gone to sleep, Earth's colonies had just begun to spread to nearby systems. Now an alien empire was destroying them. Other tubes opened around him. His senior staff was waking up looking confused and worried. Science Officer Yoonji Song pushed her long black hair out of her face as she stood up. Weapons Specialist Dongmin Han flexed his arms to get feeling back into them. Navigator Yuna Bei checked the readings on a nearby screen. Status report, Hyunwoo ordered as they all gathered around the central command table. Arya's holographic form appeared above the table. She looked like a young woman with short blue hair and kind eyes. The situation is critical, Captain. The Vorthan Empire has arrived with 60 warships. They have already destroyed Kepler Station and several mining outposts. Estimated human casualties 3.2 million. The crew stood in shocked silence. Millions of people dead. How long have they been here? Yoonji asked. Approximately 4 hours. They broadcast a surrender demand which was refused by the local human forces. They then began systematic destruction of civilian targets. Cowards, Dongmin growled. Attacking civilians instead of military targets. What human forces are still active? Hyunwoo asked. One ship, the UES Defiant, is currently engaging the enemy. They are attempting to cover the escape of civilian transports. Their survival chances are less than 1%. Hyunwoo looked at the tactical display that appeared above the table. The Defiant was tiny compared to the alien ships surrounding it. It was like watching a mouse try to fight a pack of wolves. Why didn't we wake up sooner? Yuna asked. We were supposed to be an early warning system. Arya looked sad. I detected the Vorthan fleet approaching 93 years ago. However, sending a message to Earth would have revealed our position. I made the decision to remain hidden and gather intelligence on the enemy instead. You've been watching them for 90 years? Yoonji asked. Yes, I have complete tactical data on their ships, weapons, and military procedures. I know their weaknesses. Hyunwoo felt a spark of hope. Show me. The display changed to show detailed plans of Vorthan ships. Arya pointed to various sections as she explained. Their shields are very strong, but they have a critical flaw. Every time they charge their main weapons, they must redirect power from their shield generators. For exactly 2.3 seconds, they are vulnerable. That's not much time, Dongmin said. No, but it's enough. Their weapons are powerful but slow to recharge. If we can hit them during their vulnerable moments, we can cause real damage. What about their numbers? Yuna asked. Even if we can hurt them, there are 60 ships out there. The Vorthan Empire believes in overwhelming force, Arya explained. They are not used to fighting enemies who can actually threaten them. Their tactics assume they will always be stronger. They have never learned to fight a real war. Hyunwoo looked at his crew. These people had volunteered for a dangerous mission 3 centuries ago. They had given up their normal lives to sleep in the cold darkness, waiting for a threat that might never come. Now that threat was here and millions of people were counting on them. Arya, can you contact the Defiant? Yes, Captain. Opening communication channel now. A young woman's voice came through the speakers. She sounded tired and scared, but determined. This is Captain Jiwon Park of the UES Defiant. Who am I speaking to? Captain Park, this is Captain Hyunwoo Nam of the UES Prometheus. We're here to help. There was a long pause. The Prometheus? That's impossible. That ship disappeared centuries ago. We didn't disappear, Captain. We were waiting. Can you hold your position for 10 more minutes? Yes, barely. These alien ships are too strong for us. Not for much longer. We're going to even the odds. Hyunwoo turned to his crew. Yoonji, I need a full analysis of Vorthan shield technology. Find me every weakness you can. Dongmin, prepare our experimental weapons. I want maximum power to all gun batteries. Yuna, plot me an attack course that keeps us between the aliens and any surviving civilians. What about Earth Command? Yoonji asked. Shouldn't we contact them? There's no time. Besides, they wouldn't believe us even if we tried to explain. Hyunwoo looked at the tactical display again. The Defiant was barely holding on. We're on our own. On the alien flagship, Admiral Kyung-soo was growing impatient. Why haven't we destroyed that small human ship yet? They are moving very unpredictably, sir. And now this new vessel is blocking our targeting sensors. Then destroy them both. Fire everything we have. Sir, the new ship is charging weapons. Energy readings are... Sir, those readings can't be right. What? The new ship is showing power levels equal to our entire fleet combined. For the first time in centuries, Admiral Kyung-soo felt something he had almost forgotten. Fear. On the Prometheus, Hyunwoo stood at the captain's station. Through the main window, he could see the alien fleet spreading out to surround them. They looked confident. certain of their victory. They had no idea what was coming. "All stations report ready," Dongmin announced. "The Defiant is moving to a safe distance," Yuna reported. "Enemy fleet is in optimal attack position," Yunji added. Hyunwoo took a deep breath. "Arya, send a message to the alien fleet. Channel open, Captain. Admiral Kyungsoo, this is Captain Hyunwoo Nam. You have attacked innocent civilians and murdered millions of people. This ends now." The alien admiral's harsh laugh came through the speakers. "You are just another small human ship. You cannot stop the might of the Vorthan Empire." "You're right about one thing," Hyunwoo said quietly. "We are just humans. But you're about to learn what that really means." He looked at his crew one more time. They had slept for 3 centuries, waiting for this moment. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity was made of. Fire. The first shot from the Prometheus lit up space like a small sun. The experimental plasma cannon fired a beam of pure energy that cut through the darkness between ships. It struck the lead Vorthan vessel just as its shields flickered during weapon charging. The alien ship's hull cracked open like an egg. Atmosphere rushed out in glowing streams as internal explosions tore through its corridors. The massive warship, which moments before had seemed invincible, began to break apart. Admiral Kyungsoo watched in shock as his flagship's sister ship died. "Impossible," he whispered. "How did they penetrate our shields?" "Sir, they timed the shot perfectly. They hit us during the 2-second vulnerability window." "How could they know about that?" "It's classified Imperial technology." On the Prometheus, Captain Hyunwoo Nam allowed himself a small smile. "One down. 59 to go. Area, transmit tactical data to the Defiant immediately." "Transmitting now, Captain," the AI replied. Aboard the Defiant, Captain Ji-won Park stared at the information flooding her screens. "Minho, are you seeing this?" Chief Engineer Minho Kim nodded, his eyes wide. "Captain, this is incredible. They've given us complete technical specifications for every alien ship out there. Weapon systems, shield frequencies, power distribution patterns, everything." "How is that possible?" Tactical Officer Soman Lee asked. "They've been watching the aliens for decades," Ji-won realized, "learning everything about them." Communication Officer Tae-hyung Choi looked up from his station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Prometheus." A calm voice came through the speakers. "Captain Park, this is Science Officer Yoonji Song. We're sending you modified targeting algorithms. Your weapons can damage their ships if you hit them at exactly the right moment." "How do we know when that moment is?" Ji-won asked. "Watch their weapon ports. When they start to glow bright blue, that means they're charging their main guns. Count to 3, then fire everything you have. You'll have 2 seconds before their shields come back up." Ji-won looked at her crew. "Did everyone hear that?" "Yes, Captain," Soman replied. "Programming new targeting protocols now." The Vorthan fleet began to react to the unexpected threat. The alien ships spread out in attack formation, their massive hulls bristling with weapons. Admiral Kyungsoo had fought many battles, but this was different. These humans knew exactly how his ships worked. "All vessels, concentrate fire on the unknown ship," he ordered. "Destroy it immediately." Dozens of energy beams lanced out toward the Prometheus. But Captain Hyunwoo had expected this. "Yuna, evasive maneuvers. Keep us moving." "Navigator." Yuna Bay's fingers danced over her controls. The massive ship began to move in ways that seemed impossible for something so large. It twisted and turned through space like a dancer, avoiding most of the incoming fire. The few shots that did hit sparked harmlessly off the Prometheus's shields. Weapons Specialist Dongmin Han grinned from his station. "Their weapons can't penetrate our defensive systems, Captain. We've got 300 years of technological advancement on them." "Don't get overconfident," Hyunwoo warned. "There are still a lot of them." The Defiant had moved into position behind a cluster of asteroids. Captain Ji-won watched the alien ships through her tactical display, waiting for the right moment. "There," Somin said suddenly. "The second ship in the formation. Its weapons are charging." "I see it," Ji-won replied. The weapon ports on the alien vessel were glowing bright blue. 3, 2, 1, fire. The Defiant's missiles shot out from their hiding place among the asteroids. They struck the alien ship just as its shields flickered. The explosion tore through its hull, causing massive damage. "Direct hit," Soman shouted. "Their shields are down to 30%. "Keep hitting them," Ji-won ordered. "Don't give them time to recover." The battle became a deadly dance. The 2 human ships worked together. using hit-and-run tactics that confused the alien fleet. The Prometheus would draw their attention with its powerful weapons, while the Defiant struck from unexpected angles. Science Officer Yunji Song had discovered something important about Vorthon tactics. "Captain, their ships always attack in the same patterns. They've never had to adapt because they've always been stronger than their enemies. So they're predictable," Hyunwoo said. "Exactly. Area has calculated their next moves based on standard Imperial doctrine. We can be waiting for them." The next Vorthon attack came exactly as predicted. The alien ships moved in perfect formation, their weapons firing in coordinated volleys. But the Prometheus wasn't where they expected it to be. Instead, the human ship had used the debris from destroyed stations as cover. When the aliens fired at empty space, Hyunwoo struck back. His plasma cannons tore through 3 more enemy vessels before they could react. Admiral Kyung-soo was starting to panic. In less than an hour, he had lost 6 ships to these primitive humans. His officers were looking at him with doubt in their eyes. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the small human ship is using the asteroid field for cover. Our sensors can't track them effectively. Then blow up the asteroids." "Sir, that would also destroy our own sensors and weapons targeting." "The debris field would block our shots," Kyung-soo snarled in frustration. These humans were fighting like criminals and pirates, not honorable warriors. They used tricks and deception instead of meeting his fleet in open battle, but their tricks were working. On the Defiant, Communications Officer Taehyung Choi was listening to alien radio traffic. "Captain, I'm intercepting their communications. They're calling for reinforcements." "How many?" Jiwon asked. "A lot. It sounds like they're bringing in their entire invasion fleet." Jiwon felt cold fear in her stomach. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 6 hours before the first reinforcements arrive." 12 hours before their main fleet gets here." Captain Hyunwoo's voice came through the speakers. "We heard that too, Captain Park. We need to even the odds before their friends arrive." "How?" Jiwon asked. "There are still 50 alien ships out there. I have an idea, but we need to work together. Can you create a distraction while we set up our next attack?" Jiwon looked at her crew. Minho nodded. Somin checked her weapons. Taehyung gave her a thumbs up. "Tell us what you need," she said. The plan was dangerous and required perfect timing. The Defiant would lead the alien fleet into a narrow passage between 2 large asteroids. The space was too tight for all their ships to fit through at once, so they would have to come through in small groups. The Prometheus would be waiting on the other side. "Remember," Yoon Ji-song's voice came through the radio. "You only have one chance at this. If they catch you in the open, your ship won't survive." "Understood," Jiwon replied. "Beginning attack run now." The Defiant burst out from behind an asteroid, firing at the nearest alien ship. The shots barely scratched the enemy's shields, but they got their attention. "All ships pursue the human vessel," Admiral Kyung-soo ordered. "Don't let them escape this time." The alien fleet turned to chase the Defiant. Captain Jiwon pushed her ship's engines to maximum power, racing toward the asteroid passage. Behind her, dozens of enemy vessels followed, their weapons lighting up space with deadly energy. "They're gaining on us," Minho reported. "We just need to reach the passage," Jiwon said. "Hold together." The Defiant shot between the 2 massive asteroids with alien ships right behind it. The first group of pursuers followed without thinking, eager to finally destroy the annoying human vessel. They flew right into Hyunwoo's trap. The Prometheus opened fire from point-blank range. The alien ships were packed so tightly together that they couldn't dodge. One by one, they exploded in brilliant flashes of light. 7 more down, Dongmin reported. Enemy fleet strength is now at 70%, but Admiral Kyung-soo was learning. He stopped sending ships through the passage and began to circle around the asteroids instead. "They're adapting," Yuna warned. "Good," Hyunwoo said. "That means they're starting to take us seriously." For the first time since the battle began, the alien admiral spoke directly to the human ships. "You fight without honor, hiding behind rocks like cowards. Face us in open battle if you have any courage." Captain Ji-won Park answered him. "We're not the ones who started this fight by murdering civilians. If you want honor, go home and leave human space alone. Never. The Vorthon Empire does not retreat. When our reinforcements arrive, we will crush you completely." "Then you'd better call for more ships," Hyunwoo said quietly. "Because we're just getting started." The reinforcements arrived 12 hours later like a storm of metal and fire. Captain Jiwon Park watched from the Defiance Bridge as hundreds of ships dropped out of hyperspace. The human fleet had grown too, with vessels arriving from every corner of human space, but they were still badly outnumbered. Count? She asked Tactical Officer Soman Lee. 200 human ships, including us, Soman replied. Against? She paused, checking her readings again. 3,000 Vorthon vessels. Admiral Seokjin Kang's voice came through the communication system. He was the commander of the human fleet that had rushed to help them. All ships, this is Admiral Kang. I know the odds look bad, but we're not here to win. We're here to make them pay for every meter of space they take. On the Vorthon flagship, War Commander Vexahan studied the human fleet with cold interest. He was even more dangerous than Admiral Kyung-soo, with scars across his face from 100 battles. The Vorthon Empire only sent Vexan when they wanted something completely destroyed. So few ships, he said to his officers. I expected more from the species that destroyed 6 of our vessels. Sir, shall we proceed with the standard attack formation? No, Vexhan's red eyes gleamed. These humans have proven they can think. We will surround them completely. Leave no escape routes. I want to study how they fight when they have no hope. Aboard the Prometheus, Captain Hyunwoo Nam was working with his science officer Yoonji Song and the ship's AI, Arya. They had been analyzing the new Vorthon ships, looking for weaknesses. The reinforcements are different, Yoonji reported. Newer ships with better shields and weapons. Our old tactics won't work as well. Then we need new tactics, Hyunwoo said. Arya, what are our chances of survival? Current probability of human victory is 0.03%, the AI replied honestly. That's better than 0, weapons specialist Dong Min-han said grimly. I'll take those odds. Navigator Yuna Bay looked up from her station. Captain, I've been studying Vorthon fleet movements. They're very disciplined, but that's also a weakness. They all follow orders exactly, even when those orders don't make sense. What do you mean? If we could disrupt their command structure, the individual ships wouldn't know what to do. They're not trained to think for themselves. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Arya, where is their fleet command center? The war commander's ship is in the center of their formation, protected by the entire fleet. So we can't reach it with conventional attacks. No, Captain. But I may have another option. Arya's holographic form flickered as she accessed her deepest memory banks. The Prometheus has experimental technology that was never fully tested. We have a prototype hyperspace drive that can create artificial gravity wells. A weapon? Not exactly. More like a tool for changing space itself. If we could get close enough to their command ship, we could create a localized black hole. Yoonji looked shocked. That would destroy everything in the area, including us. Yes, Arya said simply. It would be a one-way mission. The human fleet began its fighting retreat across 3 star systems. Admiral Seokjin Kang had developed a strategy that made the aliens pay dearly for every advance. Human ships would attack, cause damage, then retreat to the next defensive position. Each battle was a nightmare of exploding ships and dying crews. The humans were brave, but they were also losing. For every alien ship they destroyed, they lost 3 of their own. Captain Jiwon Park led a group of smaller ships in hit-and-run attacks on the Vorthon flanks. The Defiant had been damaged in the fighting with scorch marks along its hull and several weapon systems offline. Minho, how are the engines? She asked Chief Engineer Minho Kim. Holding together, but barely, he replied. We can't take much more damage. Communication Officer Tae-hyung Choi suddenly looked up from his station. Captain, I'm detecting something strange in the Vorthon fleet communications. What kind of strange? They're using a network system that connects all their ships. Every order, every piece of tactical data, it all flows through central command nodes. Jiwon felt her heart start to beat faster. Are you saying their entire fleet is controlled by just a few ships? That's exactly what I'm saying. If we could overload those command nodes, the whole fleet would be blind and deaf. Jiwon opened a channel to the Prometheus. Captain Nam, we may have found something important. Hyunwoo listened to the report from the Defiance crew. This was the break they had been looking for. Arya, can you identify these command nodes? Scanning now, the AI replied. Yes, I can see the network structure. There are 3 primary nodes controlling fleet communications. They're heavily defended, but what? If all 3 nodes were destroyed simultaneously, it would create a feedback loop through their entire communication system. The overload would disable their coordination for at least an hour, long enough for our surviving ships to escape, Hyunwoo said. Captain, Dongmin said quietly, reaching those nodes would require our ships to fly directly into the heart of their fleet. It would be suicide. Hyunwoo looked at his crew. These people had already given up normal lives to serve on this mission. Now he was asking them to give up everything. I won't order anyone to do this, he said. It has to be volunteers only. Yoonji Song stood up first. I'm with you, Captain. We've come this far together. Yunabei nodded. My family was on Kepler Station. The aliens killed them. I want payback. Dongmin checked his weapons one more time. These guns have been waiting 300 years for a real fight. Let's give them one. Even Arya's holographic form seemed to smile. I have been alone in space for centuries, watching over sleeping humans. If this is how my watch ends, then I choose to end it protecting them. The final battle took place in the Sol system, with Earth visible in the distance. The surviving human fleet, now down to 40 ships, faced War Commander Vexhan's remaining 800 vessels. Admiral Seokjin Kang broadcast a message to all human ships. This is where we make our stand. Behind us is Earth, our home, the place where humanity began. We will not let these invaders pass. The alien fleet spread out in a perfect circle around the humans. There was no escape, no clever tactics left to try. This would be a straight fight to the death. Sir, Vexhan's tactical officer reported, the humans are dividing into 3 groups. Excellent. They're making it easier for us to destroy them. The war commander smiled coldly. Begin the final attack. What Vexhan didn't realize was that each human group was targeting one of the command nodes. Captain Ji-won Park led one group toward the eastern node. Admiral Seokjin Kang took the western node. And the Prometheus headed straight for the central command ship. All ships, Hyunwoo broadcast to the human fleet, remember what we're fighting for. We're not just defending territory or politics. We're defending the right of humanity to exist among the stars. The battle began with a storm of weapons fire that lit up space like a second sun. Human ships threw themselves at the alien lines with desperate courage. They knew they were going to die, but they were determined to take as many enemies with them as possible. The Defiant led its group through waves of enemy fire. Minyo pushed the engines beyond their safety limits while Soman fired every weapon they had. Ship after ship around them exploded, but they kept moving forward. Almost there, Ji-won said through gritted teeth as the ship shook from multiple hits. Just a little further. The Prometheus was taking the heaviest fire as it headed for the central command ship. Dongmin's weapons blazed constantly, clearing a path through the enemy fleet. But they were taking terrible damage. Hull breaches on deck 7 through 12, Yuna reported. We're losing atmosphere. Life support failing, Yunji added. We have maybe 10 minutes of air left. We only need 5, Hyunwoo said calmly. Arya, begin charging the hyperspace drive. The AI's voice was sad but determined. Charging sequence initiated, Captain. It has been an honor to serve with you all. As the 3 human groups reached their targets, they made their final sacrifice. Ships rammed into the command nodes, overloading them with explosive force. One by one, the Vorthan communication centers went dark. The feedback loops spread through their network like a virus, shutting down coordination across the entire alien fleet. For the first time in their military history, the Vorthan ships found themselves alone, cut off from their commanders. In that moment of confusion, the Prometheus made its final approach to War Commander Vexhan's ship. The alien commander watched the approaching vessel with something that might have been respect. So this is how humanity fights when cornered, he said quietly. Captain Hyunwoo, Nam's voice came through the speakers one last time. This is for every human life you took. This is for showing the galaxy that some things are worth dying for. The hyperspace drive activated, tearing a hole in space itself. The artificial black hole opened like a wound in space itself. Reality twisted and bent around the Prometheus as the experimental hyperspace drive tore through the fabric of the universe. Captain Hyunwoo Nam felt time slow down as the ship began its final journey. All crew, it has been my honor to serve with you, he said into the ship's communication system. Tell my family I kept my promise to protect them. Science Officer Yoonji Song reached over and took his hand. They'll know, Captain. The whole galaxy will know what we did here. The black hole expanded outward from the Prometheus, consuming everything in its path. War Commander Vexhan's flagship was the first to be pulled in, its massive hull cracking under forces that could tear apart planets. The alien commander watched his bridge instruments go dark one by one. "Impossible," he whispered. "No species has ever—" His words were cut off as the gravity well reached his ship's core. The vessel that had conquered 100 worlds simply ceased to exist, along with its crew and the war commander who had never lost a battle. The black hole continued to grow, pulling in ship after ship from the Vorten fleet. Those vessels that weren't destroyed were thrown wildly off course, their crews fighting desperately to regain control. Admiral Seokjin Kang watched from his heavily damaged command ship as the enemy formation collapsed into chaos. "All human ships fall back to minimum safe distance," he ordered. "Let them deal with their own mess." The surviving Vorten vessels found themselves scattered across the solar system, their communication network destroyed, their chain of command broken. For the first time in their empire's history, they were truly alone. Captain Jiwon Park stood on the bridge of the Defiant, which was barely holding together after the battle. Chief Engineer Minho Kim was running from station to station, trying to keep critical systems online. Half their crew was injured, and the ship looked like it had been through a tornado. "Status report," she asked. "We're alive," Tactical Officer Soman Lee said simply. "That's more than I expected an hour ago." Communication Officer Taehyung Choi looked up from his damaged console. "Captain, I'm receiving transmissions from the scattered alien ships. They're arguing with each other. About what? What to do next? Without their command structure, they can't agree on anything. Some want to retreat, others want to keep fighting, and some are just trying to figure out where they are." Jiwon allowed herself a small smile. "Patch me through to their communication frequency." "Channel open, Captain." "Attention, Vorten vessels, this is Captain Jiwon Park of the United Earthship Defiant. Your fleet is broken, your commanders are dead, and you're cut off from your empire. You have two choices: leave human space immediately, or join your war commander in whatever comes after death." The alien response came from multiple ships at once, creating a chaos of voices and arguments. Some demanded continued battle, others called for retreat, and a few simply seemed confused about what had happened. But one voice rose above the others. It belonged to a Vorten officer who had survived the destruction of his command ship. "Human vessel, this is Subcommander Kethron. We have never seen fighting like this before. Your species throws away lives like they mean nothing." "No," Jiwon replied firmly. "We throw away our lives because they mean everything. Every human who died here chose to sacrifice themselves so that others could live free. That's something your empire will never understand." There was a long silence on the alien frequency. When Kethron spoke again, his voice was different, quieter. "Our empire has conquered hundreds of worlds. We have never met a species that fought like this. You could have surrendered and lived as slaves. Why did you choose to die instead?" Admiral Seokjin Kang's voice joined the conversation. "Because some things are more important than living. Freedom, dignity, the right to choose our own path among the stars. Your empire tried to take that away from us. And now your empire has learned something new." Jiwon added, "Humanity will never surrender. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Remember that when you go back to your masters." Subcommander Kethron was quiet for several minutes. When he finally spoke, his words shocked everyone listening. "There will be no masters to return to. This fleet was the heart of our invasion force. Without War Commander Vexhan, without our command ships, the Empire will not risk sending more vessels to this region of space." "You're retreating?" Admiral Kang asked. "We are, reconsidering our position. Your species has proven that conquest is not always worth the cost." Kethron paused. "I have one question, human. The ship that destroyed our command structure, the one that created the gravity well, what was it?" Jiwon looked out at the space where the Prometheus had made its final stand. There was nothing left now but slowly cooling debris and the fading energy signature of the artificial black hole. "That was the UES Prometheus," she said quietly, "a ship full of humans who slept for 300 years, waiting to protect people they would never meet. They gave up their normal lives, their families, their futures, just to stand guard over humanity's children. Why would anyone make such a sacrifice? Because that's what humans do," Admiral Kang said. "We protect each other. We stand together against the darkness. And when someone threatens our people, we make them pay a price they'll never forget." The Vorten fleet began to withdraw from human space. It took them 2 days to gather their scattered ships and organize a retreat. During that time, human rescue vessels searched for survivors from the battle. The cost had been terrible. Of the 200 human ships that had fought in the final battle, only 12 were still spaceworthy. Thousands of brave men and women had given their lives to stop the invasion. But they had won. News of the victory spread across human space like wildfire. The story of the Prometheus and its crew became legend. People told their children about Captain Hyunwoo Nam and his team, who had slept for centuries and woken up just in time to save humanity. They spoke of Captain Ji-won Park and the crew of the Defiant, who had refused to abandon civilians even when facing impossible odds. They remembered Admiral Seokjin Kang and all the brave souls who had chosen to fight rather than surrender. Most importantly, they remembered the lesson that humanity had taught the galaxy. Freedom was worth any price. 6 months later, something unexpected happened. A small Vorthan ship approached Earth under a flag of truce. Sub-Commander Kethron had returned, but not as an enemy. "I have come to propose an alliance," he told the human diplomats. "My people have spent centuries conquering others through force. You have shown us a different way. Perhaps it is time for the Vorthan Empire to learn from humanity instead of trying to destroy it." The negotiations took months, but eventually, an agreement was reached. The Vorthan Empire would recognize human independence and territorial rights. In exchange, humanity would share some of its tactical knowledge and help the aliens develop new ways of expanding. That didn't involve conquest. It was not the end that anyone had expected when the war began. Captain Ji-won Park, now promoted to admiral, stood on the observation deck of the new Earth Defense Station. Through the reinforced windows, she could see both human and Vorthan ships working together on patrol duties. "Do you think Captain Nam would approve?" asked Minho Kim, who had become her chief of staff. "I think he'd be amazed," Ji-won replied. "We didn't just survive the war. We turned our enemies into allies." "The Prometheus crew would be proud," Somin Lee added. She was now the station's tactical coordinator. "They are proud," said a familiar voice behind them. They turned to see Taehyung Choi holding a small device. "I've been working on something," he explained. "A way to recover data from the Prometheus's final transmission." He activated the device, and suddenly the air shimmered. A holographic figure appeared in the room. It was Aria, the Prometheus's AI, looking exactly as she had during the battle. "This is a final message," the hologram said in Aria's calm voice. "To all humans, present and future, remember that your greatest strength is not your weapons or your ships. It is your willingness to sacrifice for others, to stand together against any threat, and to never give up hope." The crew of the Prometheus chose to give their lives so that humanity could remain free. Honor their sacrifice by continuing to reach for the stars. The hologram flickered and faded, but its message remained. Years passed. Human colonies spread to new star systems, this time with Vorthan partners helping to explore and settle new worlds. The galaxy learned that cooperation was stronger than conquest, that diversity was better than uniformity. And in the museum orbiting Earth, visitors could see the memorial to the Prometheus and its crew. The inscription was simple but powerful. "They slept so that we might wake. They died so that we might live. They stood against the darkness so that humanity could reach for the light." Humanity had learned its place among the stars not through conquest, but through courage. They had shown the galaxy that sometimes the smallest voice could shout the loudest, and that freedom was worth any sacrifice. The war was over. The future had begun, and somewhere in the vast cosmos, new challenges waited for humanity to face them with the same courage and determination that had saved Earth from the Vorthan Empire. But that is a story for another day.